It's Thursday, I think. I haven't checked the calendar, but anyway, Jim and Sean here talking soccer. Um, Sean, you're wearing the red today. How are things going? What's going to be going on today that's of note in the soccer world that people should be paying attention to?
Well, there's already some games going. Let's Poznan is up 1-0 against Fiorentina here. Second half, AZ Alkmaar overturned the 2-goal deficit in Belgium in the span of about 14 minutes, but still no goals since. So that's poised to go to extra time unless there's a couple goal or two there. So could be interesting. Roma plays Fiorentina. Sevilla plays Manchester United. Sporting plays Juventus. There's big news about Juventus today as well. Union Saint-Gilloise plays Bayer Leverkusen. Those are all Europa League. The Conference League, Nice plays Basel and West Ham plays Ghent at 3. The big news about Juventus is their 15-point ban was overturned.
Oh,
So
okay.
they are now ahead of the two UEFA Champions League semifinalists, Inter and AC Milan. AC Milan now in 5th, Inter now in 6th in the Serie A. So those teams may end up having to win the Champions League to get back into the Champions League, which is I don't know that they thought that was going to happen when they woke up today, but there it is. Juventus is on 59 points and only 2 points behind Lazio, who has without Cyril Immobile for the rest of the season. So, Juventus has a chance here to win today, move into a semifinal. And then on the weekend, they have a chance to maybe climb into second place after the season looked like it was going to be an absolute disaster for them. But never underestimate the power of the Juventus politicians behind the scenes.
Aha. So you're saying that perhaps they had a little bit of help there?
Well, I mean, I don't understand how you had a ban. If they ban, there's clearly some kind of you don't get 15-point bans for no reason. The Patrici's ban was held, so he is out and with Tottenham. So, but clearly they did something wrong, financial improprieties. So, it is what it is. I don't, whatever. Juventus is, stuff like that. I mean, you should do it on the field. The team on the field. I know you have to do this financial stuff, but it's not really fair. Teams getting banned for financial irregularities, and Manchester City is now the favorite to win the treble, and they've been cheating financial fair play and everything else for over a decade, and still nothing has come from it. So. You can't have rules for one team and other rules for another. So I mean, it's just I never understand that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems to be that way in sports and has been for a long time.
Well, I think it's that way in life. People talk about fair and unfair. I mean, there's not really any such thing. I mean, it's just if there's certain people get certain things because of their name or their status in the world or their wealth or just other people have to work their butts off to get whatever they get, and sometimes never get a break. So you can't fair is
a relative term.
Yeah, it's I think it was Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah. There's just I really miss Calvin and Hobbes a lot. That they were always my favorite cartoon. The benevolent dictator was always one of my favorite parts.
Maybe it was, I forget what it was. It's like it might be it was like fair is a concept made up by people that want to complain or something like this. And then someone said something or like dopes or something like this, and then the guy said something, and he was like, the best case scenario here is that you're a dope or something. It's pretty funny. I have the comic actually somewhere in my house somewhere, but
Yeah. Yeah, the interesting thing, according to the Telegraph this morning, is that the Premier League feels that they can get more money in a new media deal as negotiations have started. Their goal is to offer 60 additional live broadcasts next year in domestic deals. So that
only for what was that on?
I'm sorry?
Where'd you read that, Telegraph?
Yeah. Well, I've got it on Front Office Sports. I will actually take it and post it right here whilst we are on the line. And yeah, Front Office Sports had a piece on it today, and it's about what they are planning on or hoping to get out of their upcoming deals. So I'm going to put it in the comments section so that anybody who wants to read it can read it. So there you go. Easy to click on. It's basically what it says is, in the next domestic deal, according to Telegraph, which means that 260 of the league's 380 games per season will be broadcast live, which is up over 200. However, there's no indication that the league is going to get rid of its 3 p.m. Saturday blackout rule, which dictates no games to be broadcast live between 2:45, and 5:15 local in England.
And it's never going to matter then. It's not going to matter because
how are they going to get the money?
I mean, people are just going to go around that at this point now. They're already going around it. So, Sky
Sports is going to, which still has the rights now. BT, which also has the rights. By the way, BT's changed their name this summer to, I find this ironic, TNT Sports. And Amazon Prime hold the league's domestic rights for $6 billion in a 3-year cycle ending at the end of the 24-25 season. Sky holds the largest chunk of rights, which is 128 matches. The league's international reach is $6.3 billion for this cycle, and they expect to get that up a bit. They actually make more money, almost more money, in the package that is sold here in the U.S. than any other place outside of the UK. So,
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's but yeah, that blackout, which you've mentioned numerous times, is got to be a problem. I mean, how can you? I mean, what's the theory on that? Is it the theory that people wouldn't go to the games?
Yeah, it's
the old blackout rule from the NFL.
Yeah, it's just stupidity. I mean, you know what? Like, if you're gonna go to a game, like they don't understand. You're not gonna not go to the game because the game is on TV. People go to the game for 100 other reasons, not just to watch the football, just this, to hang out with their buddies and watch, go drinking and get around the stadium and all that stuff. Like, if they don't black out the NFL games.
No,
yeah.
And what
I'm saying, like, 100 years, it's ridiculous. It was an antiquated rule from like the 60s and 70s, and people, like, it's not, the TV's not like that now. Like, the NFL is so big. Like, if I'm gonna go to the Eagles game, I'm gonna go to the game. If I'm not going to the game, I'm not gonna go to the game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I was in Manchester, I would go to all the games.
Right.
But I'm not. So, like, whatever, But if I'm in London, say I had to move to London for work. Well, now I can't watch the 3 o'clock kickoff. Well, I can because I have IPTV.
Right.
So, but that's the thing. Like, you'll just download IPTV, which has all the Peacock Premium, which we can watch every game, and you can watch any game you want at 3 p.m. You could sit home and watch it.
And to your point on that, though, They're not getting a penny from the IPTV.
100%. They're not getting anything. And they're suing people for piracy instead of suing people for, arresting people for that, instead of arresting people for, all the other stuff that's actual problems hurting people and stuff like that. But, once again, if you need to ever know what is important to people, you start messing with the government or somebody's company's money, you'll find out very quickly what is important and what isn't. You'll find out very quickly.
When I started in this business, there used to be the blackout law. And our theory that we used to pound into the teams was, all right, there's nothing worse than handing an announcer who's on the road and you're losing 8-0. And they go, these same New York Yankees are going to be in Cleveland next week. Why don't you go buy tickets? And you're thinking, this is such a wonderful thing. Most teams usually win more at home than they do on the road. Okay. So if you want to show, your team at its best, show them when they're at home. And so you can get caught up in the fan experience, and then maybe you will want to go to the game. And so eventually, things kept moving and moving and moving, and we got past that. It was called the theory of the arena. You didn't want to be in the shadow of the arena because you couldn't sell tickets. Well, now, with the amount of money that the teams are getting, it hasn't hurt their box office. If teams are winning, then people will go and see them. If they're not, then they won't. But they will. And here's the key that we had to eventually beat over their heads, is you can get revenue for games that they don't go to. And that clicked. It took a while, but finally in the 80s, that clicked, that you could, by giving the teams we paid, and now it's going to sound like peanuts, but we paid $1.3 million for 50 games of the Cleveland Indians back in 1982. And, we said, look, of these 50 games, 35 or 40, we had the option of moving back and forth. 35 or 40 are going to be at home. And you're going to find out that it's not going to hurt anything. And, the rest is history. Everybody's doing now televises home games. And the NFL, Pete Rozelle went to the mat. That one actually had to go through Congress. Congress is actually the one that dictated that the blackout rule was no longer fair. But Rozelle fought it to the very end. In that case, I think that one came up in 80. That was part of the 84 Cable TV Act. We actually, along with two other stations, if we would get a phone call on Friday and that phone call would ask them how many Bucks tickets are left. And they would say, like 5,000 or so. If it was over 5,000, we wouldn't, we were the Buccaneers preseason and home to John McKay show. Channel 13, which at the time was CBS, and CBS the contract at the time, carried the games. So between us and TBT, we would decide, okay, how can we is there enough here? Is there too much here for us to pay? And we would we'd buy the tickets. And that way we could play, the game could be seen locally. Channel 13 would make their money through advertising. We'd make our money through advertising as well. So we would, eventually. Now, if they said it was 10,000 tickets, we're like, nah, that's not gonna fly. But we used to buy the tickets just to get over the blackout rule, and then give away the tickets to a number of charities. But no, what I don't get, and you're right, in this day and age when you can watch this stuff, why would you black it out in the place where you're going to get your highest ratings?
Yeah, they're out of touch. Look, the people in the English stock, whatever it's called, I don't even know. Like the people that are sitting in Westminster, the people that are sitting in London as well,
Mhm.
aren't in touch with half of the people in London, but the rest of the country. I mean, it's a running joke. I mean, London doesn't represent anything to do with the top, the rest of the country. And I don't think it's like, in America, Washington, it's
Mhm.
Democrats, Republicans, whatever. But, the politicians they're all out of touch and stuff like that. But I feel like it's a little more balanced. Whereas some of the people support whatever. But, people in North Dakota probably don't think that the government works for them, and people in Montana, as much as anybody else. But I just think it's there's so much stuff in England. I say it all the time. I mean, the media is 15 years behind the country. They're 15 or 20 years behind, like America, which is what they base everything on of everybody. And the whole thing is, they base everything off of America. And it's just weird. I mean, there's no reason to have blackouts. There's no reason to have this stuff. You're either going to go to the matches or you're not going to go to the matches. If I'm going to go to the matches, I don't care if it's on, like, if I'm over there and the match is on TV, I don't care. I'm going to go to the match.
Right.
But,
Well, and again, the other thing is that we were talking about this morning. A friend of mine, and he was saying, he was listening to the Yankee game the other night, and he said, John Sterling, who's been there for quite a while, John was on, and John was talking about, hey, it's early. We're only in the first or second inning. There's still tickets available if you're driving by. Come on by, and you're like, I haven't heard that in years. I mean, the old back in the day, right? You'd be driving around town, or you'd be sitting at your house, and they go, hey, come on down and see the rest of the game. So yeah, that kind of stuff has kind of faded in the wayside. But I don't know. We're almost getting to a point, though, don't you think? Where we're almost at an inflection point with regard to TV rights money. I mean, how much more, are you going to squeeze out of that stone? I mean, it's just, um, I think we're leveling off now, because cable companies aren't going to pay exorbitant fees to ESPN and others, because you've got streaming in competition. So why would you do it?
Yeah, I think we'll see kind of what goes on in the next few years with the the reset.
Well, it really boils down to the direct to consumer, right? I mean, that means if you want to watch your favorite team play, then you pay for it. Back in the heyday of the cable, which was maybe 10 years ago, you had a situation where people who didn't watch, any sports at all were still paying for it. And people who didn't watch any specific drama on TNT or USA or whatever, they were paying for stuff they didn't watch. So
Yeah.
kind of worked out in that regard. But as I say, they're gonna, that was the day they were printing money. They're not printing money anymore.
Yeah, Foxy. I mean, I've never seen a place where, like, the capital just doesn't care, like, about anything that happens in Newcastle and Liverpool and Leeds and Manchester, and it's been forever, and just that's the thing. City of London is almost the City of London, the actual incorporation part and stuff like that, where the banks and all that stuff is. They're basically, it's like the Vatican. They're basically their own city. It's just crazy, but yeah, you do see it everywhere. Chicago is a mess, and the corruption in South America and all that stuff. It just seems like in England, I mean, it's just like, I've never seen so many people like like this thing with this 3 p.m. Like, it's just stupid. Like, there's no reason for it at this point, and they're gonna renew. And it's just like, why would you renew it at this point? It's over. Anybody that wants to watch the game pays for IPV and watches the game anyway.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't you just say, listen, there's no more blackouts. We're going to put all the games on and collect the money for the TV license and fee and all that stuff. I just don't get it. But they're just out of touch with the stuff. I mean, the problem is 85% of the politicians are, 70 to 90 years old, and they don't listen to we're not listening to the kids and stuff, and not even the kids, but like, people make good points, and you're just it's why I think government is just there to like bollock stuff up, to be honest. It's just not really there to help. It's just there to be a figurehead.
Well, I mean, they even have a TV tax there, which subsidizes the BBC.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, and they just, it's crazy.
So you get double dipped on that one, because if you're over there, you have to pay for cable, or I guess satellite TV is more prevalent in the UK than than others. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where you sit back and go, I don't understand that, because if you look at the other countries, right, the Bundesliga in Germany, you've got Serie A and the Italian league, and I mean they all broadcast the games, right?
Yeah, I mean, the when you go to Portugal, I mean, they broadcast every game, and they put them in 10 different windows or 8 different windows. I mean, every game's on 9 different windows. Sorry, I think there's 18 teams in the top flight there. Let's confirm that.
And that's, I think DAZN and some of the others, they have a streaming deal that gives you all of them.
18 teams, so there's 9 matches. Every match, here's the matches for the weekend in the league. 8:15 on Friday night. I'll give you 3:30 Saturday. 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock Saturday, 8:30 Saturday, 3:30 Sunday, 6 o'clock Sunday, 6 o'clock Sunday, 8:30 Sunday, and 8:15 Monday. So there's 2 games at 6, Benfica Estoril and Santa Clara and Chaves at the same time, but everything else is in its own window. And if you go to the games, you go. If you don't, you don't. So, it is what it is. People still go, and people still don't go. So
it's just kind of bizarre. That's all. At least, from my standpoint, because nobody asked me, so there you go. North London. I'm sorry, I was just reading one of Foxy's pieces down there below the one about the South London bit. Sorry, since we can't solve the world there. Evidently, there was a piece in I think the Philly paper this morning where they were blasting the MLS for their new TV deal, and also because they weren't getting their local broadcasters. And I think JP De La Camera was doing the games, but and look, I've worked with JP. I love him. He's a great guy, good soccer announcer. But the league made the choice that they wanted to make things look like the English Premier League, and they wanted everything to be the same. And I guess in some cities, like Philadelphia, where they actually did a decent production, then people are missing it. But there are a lot of places where they didn't do a decent production, and no one's missing that.
I don't know. I don't understand why the MLS kind of didn't have this stuff worked out.
Well, I think it's on the schedule,
Yeah, no, the schedule's terrible. And, it's just terrible. You can't, it's just,
now on Apple TV.
Oh yeah, no, I gave you the schedule for the Portuguese league, and all the different times are in different windows. So every game, if you wanted to sit home and watch every game on the weekend, you could. The MLS, you can't. 2/3 of the games are at 7:30 on Saturday night. and they're all at 7:30, no matter where you are. But by the time your game ends at 9:30 on Saturday night, you could only watch a cup, one other game. So you've alienated any kind of casual watcher who wants to watch games across, like the Premier League does. And the Premier League has 6 different windows every weekend. 6. And there's only 10 matches. They play either Friday or Monday or Saturday afternoon, and at 3:00 sometimes. They play the 7:30. This is all Eastern time. 7:30, 10, 12:30. And then they play 9 and 11:30 on Sunday. That's 5 windows, and then they'll put either one on Friday or one on Monday or one in the late afternoon Saturday. They play 6 of their 10 games in different windows. Then they have the FA Cup and all this other stuff. And, the Champions League. The Champions League has 16 matches, group stage matches on Tuesday and Wednesdays. They play 8 on Tuesday, 8 on Wednesday. They play 2 games in the early window every day. So they only have 8 games or 16 games each week, and it's in 4 different windows. The MLS has 15 games on a weekend, and it's in like 2 different windows. It's crazy. I just don't get it. I mean, people are getting mad about it. And, if you paid all this money to watch the broadcast, and you're like, wait a second, I paid all this money and I can only watch, you can't. I have 3 TVs on. You can't pay it. When Manchester United's playing, I don't have 3 TVs on because you can't pay attention. You can only pay attention to 1 game at a time.
Right.
You can have them all on, but you're not watching them. You're only watching one. Whereas, you could play at 1 p.m., 3:30, 6 p.m., 8:30. You could play 8:30 matches. You're playing 7:30. Why not just play at 8:30 or 8 o'clock? You play 8 o'clock.
Well, yeah. The other thing, too, is if you're going to grow the game, right, and you're going to grow the game with hopefully a bunch of, with a younger, fan base, why wouldn't you have Saturday afternoon games, Sunday afternoon games, where families could go? Having it on a Saturday night at 7:30. And by the way, at the beginning of the season, weather also plays a factor in this. Why would you not want to play some games early on where the temperature is a little more than 40 degrees and the potential of wind and snow? I mean, you don't want that. So I don't understand why all these games have to be played on Saturday and they all have to be played at night. I mean, if nothing else, you should learn from, Major League Baseball and some of that they play the games in the afternoon when people, can enjoy it, and it's a family deal. And, I don't get that. Even businessman specials wouldn't be a bad idea for some of these games, especially if you work, some of these stadiums are in downtown. It'd be perfect. I mean, you just say, look, we're going to have a fun afternoon at the ballpark on a Wednesday afternoon.
Well, look, they don't want to play. They want to play every game on the weekend. Saturday. I just, and then it's going to come to be the next, the September, and you're going up against college football, and nobody cares, and blah blah blah. The most important part, instead of playing some games during the week. Instead of playing, I know they play some midweek games coming up in June and stuff when it gets warmer, but I just, it's just like reason number 57 why I just don't care. I just can't. I want to watch. I watched my team. I watched the Premier League. I watched the Champions League, Europa League, all that stuff. But even if sometimes I won't even watch that, but I can't. You can't even. Bundesliga is unwatchable and stuff. These games are all on at the same time anyway, so you're gonna watch the Premier League anyway. I'd rather watch a Premier League game, but by the time the MLS game comes on at 7:30 at night on a Saturday, hey, I'm either doing something or that's the other thing. I'm all or I've had a whole day of doing something, And like the last thing I want to do is sit there and watch a 2-hour game. Like I can't be bothered. My attention span isn't there. So, it's just whereas if it was in the middle of the day and I was out doing something, we're eating something, I'd maybe stay and watch the game. But
Mhm.
it is what it is.
But I think the other thing too that we have to pay attention to is you've got a bunch of kids who are growing up on a Saturday morning and they're watching, English Premier League games. They probably know more about Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool than they know about the MLS teams.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they know it's in the, those are the players playing in the World Cup. Those are the players playing on, their TVs all the time. Those are the people they're watching. I mean, and yeah, exactly. The 12:30 matches they're free to air, on NBC and stuff. I mean, they push it. It's pushed,
Mhm.
in the Champions League and stuff. And whereas all the other stuff is, in
Well, how
in
many?
a window this big
Yeah.
between Saturday night between 7:30 and like I just don't know a lot of kids that are going to be watching that. Like they're not, they're either they're going to go to sleep or they're doing other stuff or they're whatever. Like it doesn't
Oh,
seem like.
Saturday night is not a night for sitting back and watching soccer. It's just not. It's for kids. I'm talking about. You know, if you instead of like when I was growing up, watch cartoons on a Saturday morning. Now, you know, everywhere you look, you've got kids who are wearing jerseys of Premier League teams or even Italian league teams, Spanish league teams. I mean, they all have the merch that they've gotten from those leagues. Nobody's wearing a. How many Philadelphia Union jerseys have you seen?
I walk around Philly and I see more, I don't know, man, any Premier
Well,
League
I
team.
mean, when was the last? Remember they have the friendlies in the spring, a little later, or I'm sorry, in the summer. Um, in DC, they sold out 70,000 seats for Manchester United against Juventus, or some.
Yeah, well, they have the Premier League coming this summer, the Premier League series, and they're not
Right,
playing the MLS teams anymore. It's the Premier League teams
right,
because once again, why would I go see Manchester United play
right. The Union, yeah.
the Union when I can watch them play Arsenal or
Right.
watch them play PSG or watch them play whatever? And the
So,
games, it's
yeah,
stupid. Like for me, I'm not the target audience because I actually go to
right,
games in
right,
England, but like I'm gonna go watch them
right,
because they're playing in New Jersey and Philadelphia. But
right.
like, yeah, no, like it's crazy. I'm not. Like, I don't care when they like the Manchester United used to come over here and play like these MLS. Like Van Hol's first year, they played some MLS team, 7-0, and the MLS team's in the middle of their summer. Like I
Well,
can't, I
and
can't be
and they
bothered.
weren't even, and Manchester United didn't even have their entire
They
field.
didn't play their starters.
Right, you're playing against the B team. But the games between the friendlies between Manchester United and other Premier League teams and other soccer teams from around Europe draw. I mean, they sell the place out. In Miami, they can't get 1,000, 10,000 people to a baseball game. They get 80,000 people to a soccer game and sell it out in 45 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't even.
So it's a marketing issue that they're going to have to come to grips with, and it better be sooner than later for them. But it is. And you're even seeing. I was just checking some USL stuff, and USL they have teams that are averaging 5, 6, 7,000 fans, which
Yeah,
isn't a bad thing at all. They play their games. They don't play their games, on a Saturday night. They play them all over the week,
yeah.
Sunday days, and they play afternoon games. I just saw a story with the Rowdies and that's in Tampa Bay. The Rowdies and I forget who they're playing, but they play games at Al Lang Field, which used to be a minor league baseball stadium, but they refit it to be a nice little soccer venue. And they've had their forced sellout. They've only had 6 home games.
Yeah.
So they're getting people to the games, and they're enjoying it. Otherwise, they wouldn't come back. And they're playing in the afternoon. So I don't know. Any score updates we got there from Score Central?
Yeah, it's Fiorentina just struck back. It's 3-1 now. So Fiorentina late, what is it, 89th minute. So Fiorentina's, it was 3-0, so it was 4-4 in aggregate, but Fiorentina got a goal in the 78th minute. So they're going to go through right now unless Lech Poznan can score. And then AZ Alkmaar is still 2-0, so that's about to go to extra time. So maybe watch the first 15 minutes of extra time before Manchester United plays at 3.
And this one's a big one for Manchester United because they want to keep the.
Yeah, they got to win. Yeah, they just got to win the game. I mean, ties, extra time, and they should have won the game easily last week, and they didn't. So they got to. Rashford will come off the bench hopefully and kill the tie at some point. But yeah, you got to keep the momentum going. It's not, to be honest, at this point, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world if they lose. But to lose, today and then maybe lose on Sunday and get knocked out of 2 cups when you have a chance to win 3 is you just want to. This is the cup they need to kind of focus on because to beat Brighton and then to beat Manchester City is going to be a tough task. I think to beat Sevilla, Juventus, and whoever comes out of the other side is eminently more winnable than the other one is.
Well, it's going to be tough, and we'll see how it goes. But at least it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It could be fun.
That's right. Yeah, it'll be fun. I think they'll be all right today.
Yeah. So what do they have to do to win today?
Just got to win the game. If they win the game, they advance. If they tie, they go to extra time. If they lose, they're out. So just got to win. You win 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, 3-1, whatever it is. Win the game. You win. If you win the game, but to be honest, if you can't beat the number 13 team in Spain over 2 legs, then you don't really deserve to be in the in the thing anymore. I mean that team Sevilla stinks. I mean they're very good in this tournament, but They're 9, 8, and 12 in the league with a -9 goal difference. So if you can't beat them, you don't deserve to be in it. So it is what it is. Either they advance or they don't. And it's.
I'm sorry, just for a second. You said they have a -9, so they'd have
a 9 goal difference in La Liga. I mean they stink. This Sevilla team stinks. And the Manchester United was controlling the tie, and they threw it away in the last 5 minutes last time. So it's not whatever. If they get if Manchester United gets an early goal, I think they'll be all right. But is what it is. They go behind, it could be in trouble.
Well, okay, this is leg 2, right?
Yeah, leg 2. It's 2-2.
Okay, so it's okay. So they don't have.
No, -9 goal difference in La Liga. Yeah. This is
okay. It's not.
They're not a good team overall. They just
right.
They're very good in this competition.
Okay, so I was curious. I thought. Wait a minute. I forgot. Where did I not see the United won by 9 goals? So they're even going into today's game on points. Is that what you're saying? 2-2?
Yeah, it's 2-2.
Okay. So all they have to do is win.
If they win, they're through.
Okay. Sounds like a fair enough thing. You don't win, you don't deserve it, like you said. So
100%. Yep.
So, is there any what is the other game to watch this afternoon? Is at 3:00?
West Ham is playing against Ghent in the Conference League. If you're a Premier League fan, I think the Union Saint-Gilloise Bayer Leverkusen could be interesting as well. So, I mean, all 6 of them should be pretty good. I don't think there's going to be any kind of teams running away with it. Hopefully, unless maybe Manchester United.
Yeah. So you think there's that possibility is there?
Yeah.
So cool. Any other questions before we get out of here on a Thursday afternoon? Going once, going twice. Fox, you got anything before we get out of here? I guess not. All right. For Sean, I'm Jim, and we'll get you out of here so you can watch the game coming up in just a few minutes, as a matter of fact. Get your popcorn ready and get ready for the game. We will see you tomorrow, guys. For Sean, I'm Jim. Take care.